We're going to dip into the viewer mailbag today on a very common question that I hear from a lot of campground owners who are tired of wasting money on advertising. I'm going to bring in the expert, though. I'm going to bring in Zach Bordeaux to talk about it and give us some solid advice. I'm here with Zach Bordeaux, and he is going to walk us through to discuss a question that I got from a campground owner. I'm going to read a little bit of this and then I'm going to summarize some of it. But they are struggling with advertising, using social media, trying to get guests to come to their park. So they have tried to bombard Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter multiple times a week posting. They've had somebody who was staying at their campground who was a social media type person who was trying to help them get some promotion. They've thought about doing some Google AdWords, and they're ultimately kind of throwing things at the wall to see what sticks. I feel like they're probably wasting money because they don't know what they're doing with it and don't really have a defined strategy. So, Zach, what would you recommend for a mom and pop campground to use for advertising to get more guests?
I think ultimately for any business, your advertising comes down to your offer. And so when you're just like a regular campground, when you don't show what makes you different, that is one thing that hurts your advertising and it doesn't boost your advertising dollars. For example, if you're just like an ice cream shop and you just have like vanilla and chocolate ice cream and that's all you have, people are just going to choose whichever one's closest to them, whichever one's cheaper, whichever one they just decide to choose. They're not going to choose based off of, oh, this is the better campground. And so you need to be showing yourself as, hey, we are the better campground in a few different places. And I think the biggest piece of marketing for campgrounds in particular, or like local businesses in particular, is specifically, and I don't even like to call campgrounds a local business necessarily, because you're not necessarily targeting local people always. Sometimes you are, sometimes you're not. But a lot of times, obviously, you're targeting people who are traveling, right? You're not targeting people who are always local. So a lot of campgrounds, what I'll see is that they're trying to run just like generalized Google ads and just like to their local area, and they're not getting the right market, right? So you have to think, where is the market for your product? So if the market for the product is people who are actively Google searching a certain thing, that's where you want to be, right? Whether that's SEO, whether that's running Google ads, people who are searching campgrounds in New Mexico, in certain area, campgrounds in Port St. Lucie, Florida. If people are searching for campgrounds there, that's where you want to be. SEO, AdWords, those are like the top things. Things that are running like local ads, you're probably just spending your money. Same thing with social media. Social media is good to have, especially if you are a family campground where you're like trying to be based off of like a tradition. For example, Ocean Lakes, that's one that we used to go to a lot when I was a kid. They have very good social media. They're also obviously like a mega park. They're huge. So it's not always in comparison to what like a small mom or pop would be. But Ocean Lakes, the reason people follow Ocean Lakes is because you go there year after year. And so your goal is to, as a campground owner, as a business owner, is to increase the lifetime value of your customers. So if you can get them to come back year after year and not just go once and never go again, you get them to continually come back. It's obviously one thing that you can do to increase your presence. So social media is more to boost your lifetime value. Don't think of it as like people are just going to find you on social media and then book in your campground. That might happen 1 in a million. There's a chance that happens, but it's a very, very, very low chance. So social media is more to convince people to come back, and you should be promoting your social media around your park, at the park, have signs up, say, follow us on social media. But what people really want in social media is people buy at the end of the day from people, not from businesses. Right? So if you are a business and you are just like running it as a business, you have someone else doing your social media, it's not always what people want to see. I've seen a lot of people, forget who it was. There's someone that I actually talked to on a call and gave them some advice. You might know who they are. They're one of your clients, I think, that documents, is it Standing Pines Campground maybe? It's one of them.
Yeah, Standing Pines is a new one.
Yeah, she posts on Facebook as they're building the campground. She's documenting herself, and she is personally, as the owner, building the relationship with the people, right? If you're just taking pictures of a water slide, okay, that's cool and all that you have a water slide, but people don't really care that much. They care a lot more about who are you and why should I support this campground and what makes them different. And so that personal connection is huge. So not saying that you need to go out and just fire your social media person. I don't think that's always a good option, but if you can take on the social media, just think of it as like documenting. It's the same thing as like if you're an influencer, you're just documenting your life. It's the same thing in this case. You're just documenting your day-to-day in the campground, because that's what a lot of people want to see. They say they'll see you on social media because they follow you, because obviously they went to your campground or something. They're like, oh, there's John from XYZ campground. I should go over there, go see what they're up to. Let me go book in another, campground reservation for in the summer, or in the spring, or whatever. That's your goal with social media. It's not just to like get eyeballs as much as it is to continue to nurture people who have either already looked you up or people who've already been to your campground who might be coming back to your campground. That's the biggest thing for social media. Now, as far as ads, the ads are a big thing that I see a lot of people do. Facebook ads, again, you're targeting people like it's social media. I don't think that Facebook ads are always the best way to start, especially for something like a campground where you're trying to attract people that are coming in. And like, if you're looking for someone to model stuff off of, just look at hotels. Where do hotels run their ads? They run their ads on Google My Business. They run their ads on just have really good SEO. They have good Google AdWords. They aren't just focused on how can I put out as much information on Facebook as possible. You might see like a general ad for like Hilton Honors on social media, but you're not seeing like the JW Marriott in Tampa, Florida on a Facebook ad if you're from somewhere else, right? So that's kind of really where I think most campgrounds mess up, is they try to target too general instead of trying to like really dial in on their specific market. So yeah, just understanding like where your market is actually coming from when they're searching for a product is going to be huge. If you can figure out where they're coming from and get them when they're already in a buying state, that's when you're really going to be able to convert a lot more people, and those ads are going to become a lot more profitable.
Do you think that marketing events is a different story than just marketing the campground, or do you think they're about the same hit or miss kind of option?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the event itself, right? Like if you're targeting an event for like a barbecue and your goal is just to get a lot of people to show up to it and get knowledge about the campground, maybe you're targeting that to like someone who's closer around, more local, instead of trying to target it to someone across the country. But if you're doing some sort of event, I mean, again, it's the same thing. You want to search for people who are searching for that event. So if it's like the New Mexico Balloon Festival, I don't know if that was the name of it, whichever one y'all went to.
Yeah, yes.
If it's something like that, try to rank on search for like campgrounds to stay at near the New Mexico Balloon Festival. Right? If that's the event that you're trying to target and it's some sort of like bigger event that's around the campground, or you have some sort of attraction. For example, if you're near the Grand Canyon Campground should be right on the front of your website. So
that's more of an SEO type play rather than a Facebook posting or an Instagram posting. Those can be helpful, but I wouldn't sink a whole lot of money into that, right?
Yeah, and if there's any social media that you're going to do as a campground, it should be YouTube. I think that YouTube's the number one platform to look for something like that, because you have to remember that Google's the number one search engine and YouTube's the second, and YouTube videos rank on Google. Because if someone searches up Grand Canyon Campground and they see a video of your campground on YouTube, they sit through a 6-minute video or a 3-minute video or a 30-second video of you sitting there showing your park, showing how nice it is, showing the amenities, showing the benefit of them coming, and basically just painting that vacation for them, they're a lot more likely to buy, because now they've spent time and they've actually given a little bit of like, they put some input into it, and now they just finish it off there. Why would they choose someone else over you? So using YouTube, again, not necessarily to attract eyeballs, but A, to rank in search, and B, to get people who are looking for those campgrounds to favor you over other ones and know who you are. It's the same reason that you do YouTube. It's like, why would you choose any other accounting firm? Well, you're making content, so of course they're going to choose you. So that's kind of how you do it. Don't like brand it as how can I get as much eyeballs as possible. Brand it on, try to get the right eyeballs. So I think that's kind of one of those things. And then if you do events, advertise those events on YouTube, create YouTube videos around those events. Right? If you have a big barbecue festival or something, I don't know, I'm just making that up. But if you have a big barbecue festival at a campground, you can obviously like create a YouTube video over it. If it's an annual thing, create a video about it. Try to rank it and search for it, because that's really where you're going to get a lot more people. And again, you post it on Facebook if you're doing events. You can post it on a Facebook event. People, the beauty of Facebook events, like if, for instance, my dad says that he's going to go to some brewery event, it'll pop up on my Facebook. Even though I don't really care about the brewery event, it'll still pop up on my Facebook. And so I'll see that, and then I can obviously, I get my eyeballs on it. And then, if it's something local or something nearby, I might look at it and say, oh, I should go to that. So that starts to incorporate friends and starts to get into like a referral type of thing.
That's one thing I'll mention with Facebook. So many people think like they are oversimplifying how Facebook advertising works by a tremendous amount. You know, that like everybody said, like, well, I was just talking with somebody about this and now it shows up in my Facebook. Those things are not as magical as we think. And it has a lot to do with who you're with, right? So if I am talking to somebody else about an event, they are probably going to get ads because it knows, hey, if I'm excited about it, they probably are like me and it's going to advertise to them. And so give us like a primer about a Facebook pixel and what that is and why it does that.
Yeah, I mean, just to start off, like my engineering campground friends will love this, but we're going to just like reverse engineer it, right? Facebook as a whole, their goal, it's a business, just like a campground, is to make money and to maximize the amount of money that they're making, right? And so their goal at Facebook is to optimize, make advertisers happy, and to basically help advertisers be able to make more money off of their ads. So they are going to continually show the ads to the people that they feel that the Facebook algorithm and their AI feels has the highest probability to actually convert in those ads, right? So you have these big data sources called pixels on each person's Facebook account. And a pixel is basically literally just like a data source. Most campgrounds don't even set this up. I'll give you a prime example. It's not really in the campground industry, but I had a client the other day who had a webinar that he was running and he didn't have a pixel set up. And he was like, well, this isn't working very well. The first webinar got 22 signups and this one was at 8 signups. We're like, we've already spent $1,000. How can we only have 8 signups for a webinar? That's crazy. And so what had happened was it was targeting the same people that it was targeting before in the webinar, right? If you have a pixel and you have that data source of people who've already come through the first time you did the webinar, not the second time, he was able to get 200 signups off of the next $2,000 that he spent in advertising. And again, that was worth, $20,000 to him. It's worth a good bit, right? So if you don't have your pixel set up properly and you don't have your data source set up properly, and you don't send data back to that pixel based on who's booked, based on, people who are leads, based on certain standard events, you're not actually going to be able to get any sort of results with Facebook. And every platform works the same, whether it's a Facebook pixel, a Google pixel, they're all built up with data sources. And those data sources calculate who has the highest probability to actually convert. So if I convert on an ad and it knows that you like the same thing as me, it's probably going to show the same thing to you, right? So that's kind of how advertising works as a baseline. Now, all of that sounds super complicated. It is. That's my kind of little argument as to why, there's typically, when a campground owner, for instance, hires an advertising agency, or any small business hires an advertising agency, there's 2 things that can happen. 1, the person's going to set up the pixel for you, and that's great. Or 2, they don't set up the pixel at all, and you're just throwing money, at the wall and in the trash. Don't do that. When you're hiring an advertising agency, I think that's, something that a lot of campgrounds think is like they need to hire advertising agencies. You don't always. I think that if you as a campground owner, in most cases, unless this is a industry specific marketing agency, you don't necessarily need to hire some big advertising agency and spend a ton of money in it. What I think would be better for most campgrounds is if they just had a nice looking website, hired some sort of agency to do a website, or hired someone to do a website for them that's nice, that optimizes for one click. So to book a reservation, and then not like 100 other windows of different things that they can do. You want to optimize for something in that website. That's step 1. And step 2 is just have the SEO optimized on that website. That'll get you 50% of the way, right? Next step, want to create a Google My Business profile, right? That's going to be the easiest way to rank on a Google search, is just have like a nice Google My Business profile with the place that you're in, pictures of your thing, websites. You can use tools like Go High Level and things like that to do like review harvest, and basically get more reviews back, because more reviews you have, that's like one of the number one things that people look at. If other people trust it, if a lot of other people trust it, they should probably trust it too. That's just how they think of it. So number 2 is get your Google My Business profile set up and optimized. And then number 3 is just get, like, if you've done all of that and that is already set up, that's when you can start looking into running Google ads for search-based topics and not the name of your campground. Don't run an ad to like Joe's Family Campground or John's Family Campground. Don't run an ad to that, because if they're searching that up, you're already going to be ranked as high as it can go. Run it for campgrounds in a certain area, campgrounds in Tampa, Florida, campgrounds in specific area,
and not just your tiny town, but like the bigger town that's near you.
Yeah. So like for us, I'm not going to run campgrounds in Lake Wiley, South Carolina. I'm going to run campgrounds in Charlotte, North Carolina, if we were located right here. Right. So
Right.
that's kind of a bigger thing. Don't run ads to like some small city. If you are near a big city or near an attraction, Grand Canyon Campground is a great search term to try to rank for on Google Ads. And yeah, I mean, you can hire a professional, right? Like if you're getting to the point where you already have your Google My Business set up, you already have nice reviews, you already have all of your other stuff set up. Okay, you can hire a specialist to do it. I would just say don't try to go out and hire like some agency. I would try to hire a person. Because ultimately, when you try to hire an agency, they work in a tier system. And with the amount of money that you're going to be spending is probably not in comparison to the amount of money that other clients are spending of theirs, right? Like if you have someone that's spending $100,000 a month and someone that's spending $1,000 a month, they're obviously going to prioritize the person who's spending a lot more money. And I've learned this the hard way through working with a lot of agencies. It's not always about, who has the best results. It's about who can just get the job done and who understands you the best. That's another huge point.
And a good strategy I liked, Alex Hormozy. He said he went out when he needed to hire an ad agency. He told them, look, I want to pay you to not only do the job, but I want you to train me how to do it at the same time. And his goal is that when he can learn to get better result, then the agency gets him, then the agency is done. He will then take it from there. So it was kind of an incentive program on both sides to say, look, you go out, you show me how you're better than me. And one day I'm going to be better than you. And that's the time when you get fired. So it's making that ad agency really earn their keep and make sure they're getting results. And so many of the folks doing ads now, they want to present a fancy report that says, here's what we did, but it literally means nothing. Just because you got eyeballs doesn't mean you got dollars.
Yeah.
So make sure there's dollars. And that leads into the next point. Do not advertise at all unless you are tracking where every single new person comes from specifically, not just Google or I found you, my friend said something. Well, track and ask who it is. Track it to the T.
Yeah, like even in your reservation software, having some sort of question of where did this referral come from? And then also being able to source track it. If you use a platform like Go High Level or any sort of CRM platform that you may be using, you can typically source track things, right? Like I can see exactly what social media platform someone clicked on a link from before they opted in because it just tracks that. So if you're not like tracking, you're slacking. That's how it works.
I agree. So to kind of pull this back together, two other things I wanted to mention is another really easy lift that people miss is email marketing to the people who've already been to your campground. Those people already showed they loved you, or if they didn't love you, you want to find out why and invite them back to make a better experience if you need to. But market to the people who already love you too. Don't forget about them. And the other part we mentioned kind of, but I want to re-emphasize is reviews. Reviews are going to be huge. Most campers, if they're, we'll say professional campers, are going to use an RV Trip Wizard, RV Parky. Those reviews there are well worth it, and Google. I think those are the big ones to mention where reviews are really important.
Yeah, and one last one that I'll throw in there that's just like a bonus one is referrals. If you're running your reactivation email campaigns and you're running email campaigns that are like, hey, come back to our campground, you also need to be asking those people, who are the, 3 people that should also be coming to this campground with you and plan a group trip, right? Mm-hmm. Like those are things that are huge because you turn 1 customer into 3, and then those 3 customers turn into 9, and then it's just exponential from there. I call it the rain run method because you just get infinite people from that. Yeah. If you can get referrals, that's huge. That's like the number one thing that you can really be doing and those are the highest quality leads, right? Those people are very, very happy. They are already bought into the idea of coming to your campground. Again, and
if somebody comes with a friend to the campground, they're going to have a good time.
Exactly.
So get them all in there. Make raving fans out of all of them.
Exactly. I agree. Yep.
Well, I think those are some good tips. Anything that we missed out on that you want to throw in there, Zach?
I don't think so. I think the big thing is just focus on what really matters, right? Like that's the big thing. I always talk about leverage. if you're focusing on Google Ads and you don't have your Google My Business page set up, or you don't have like just the baseline stuff, you don't have a nice looking website, if you're running Google Ads to a crappy website, you're just throwing money away, right?
Yeah.
So make sure you're actually optimizing each thing in order in the exact roadmap that I gave you. First, your website, then your Google My Business, then start to run ads. After you have those other two things optimized, don't skip steps. Because if you're focusing on things if you focus on things that aren't high leverage for you right now in this specific moment, you're just wasting your time. You're just throwing it away, and you're throwing your time, your effort, and your money away.
I agree. All right. Well, thank you very much for giving us some inside knowledge on how to advertise for campgrounds. All right. Thank you.